excuse me, I didn't see you come in. Welcome into Webcam Weekly Wrap-Up number 9. This many fingers. And then immediately pop 5-hour energy because throughout the whole recording of my audio podcast, the In My Footsteps podcast that I do before this, there were leaf blowers outside like for 2 hours straight. Now, granted, it's good that I'm recording this here and they're not going, but man, trying to record audio with just the buzz of leaf blowers everywhere. Granted, the yard looks great, man. So, 5-hour energy. I keep trying to get them to sponsor me since 2010. Those of you that have seen these video podcasts before or read my old blog, the Initial Impressions blog, you know that a running joke is me trying to get 5-hour energy to sponsor my road trips. Back in 2010, they weren't as big of a deal as they are now. So trying to get them to sponsor me now is like, forget it. This one here, though, they've got a new drink. I guess it's pre workout. I thought they all were, but that's what I got here. Throw it. Get out. Yay, it's gone. So, Webcam Weekly Wrap Up. Last week, there was no show. I bet some of you thought I already had given up on it. Oh, no. What ended up happening was it was mostly a scheduling thing. I had videos set up to go ahead of Thanksgiving. I knew that if I wanted a certain video up on YouTube, it had to go up on the Monday when this show normally goes up. I record it Fridays, edit it throughout, post it on Mondays, and it's about my random foolishness of my life of the past week. Last week, it just wasn't possible. I don't like the idea of releasing so much content that some stuff falls through the cracks. You know, I like to release lots of stuff, but I like it to marinate, as they say. Here's something, here's a day to promote it. Here's the next thing. Instead of here's 50 things and 20 of them you don't see. And I put a lot of work into all of them. So that's the reason why there was no show last week. So, what did I do instead of recording this show besides hanging out with my pumpkin that's still alive? It's been over a month now. He's still got good thump to him. He's not going to be dead soon unless I throw it, and I won't. I will tell you that social media, you out there, you know, it learns your preferences, the algorithm, as they say. So, a funny bit of self fulfilling prophecy on Facebook, all I get shown for reels is hydraulic press videos, videos of screaming hot metal balls burning things. And the funny thing is, I don't know how it started. I don't know where the first one came from, but I clicked on it. It's some of the hashtags are, ASMR, but it's satisfying and things like that. And it's the sound of the hydraulic press coming down and then whatever's under it getting smushed. I mean, they smush food, glass. I saw them smash an anvil. And when I say this, a self fulfilling prophecy, I'm like, the algorithm's saying I like hydraulic press videos. And then they show me one, and I'm like, well, I do want to watch that. And so that's it. It's every day now. I watch half a dozen videos of things getting smashed or burned. It's like, all right, well, I guess that's what I'm into. This week, there was a day at the supermarket that was a tale of two cute kids. There was two little girls, probably both 3 years old. One of them decided that she was just going to run away from her mother and run up and down the aisles, which the time that they were in there, it was not super busy. So, I mean, it's probably never a good time for a 3-year-old to just take off running away from their parent in a crowded store. But at least this one, it wasn't busy. And I was going up and down the aisles and I would just see this child running towards me, and the mother's way at the end of the aisle looking. At one, at one point, I was kind of the traffic cop. The mother would look to me, and I'd be like, "She went 2 aisles down that way." It's like, no, I wasn't going to stop your child and hold her for you. You can go chase her. The other little girl was different because I was at one aisle and she's walking by with her grandmother, had to be grandmother, and she's got a 4 pack of muffins that she keeps dropping, which I thought was just funny. But we got into the self checkout next to each other, and I'm pretty quick scanning all my stuff to get done. The 3-year old, she's scanning stuff, but not scanning it and then putting it in the baggage area, so it was constantly beeping and please scan this, and then don't worry, help's on the way. Eventually the grandmother just started yelling at the 3-year old, stop scanning stuff. To me it was cute, it was funny. The adults, the mother and the grandmother that were chasing these kids, they weren't as amused as I was. Surprise. A really fun thing that happens, said with a lot of sarcasm, is pulling into a parking lot, a parking spot at night after dark, and opening your door and stepping out. And before you put your foot down, seeing there's just a pile of stuff there. This happened to me. Some of it was liquid, some of it was mush. I'm trying to be as vague as I can, but also paint a picture for you in case some of you are eating while you're watching this. I basically had to do a ballet dance to get out and get around and go into the store. Then when I came back out, I forgot that it was still there. So what I had to do was walk around to the passenger side of my car, open that up, and then climb in and jump over the center console. Ugh. I will tell you, there was one time that I pulled into a parking spot. I mean, this was years ago. And when I opened the door to step out, it was literal like poop on the ground. And I don't know the difference between dog poop, human poop, coyote, raccoon, whatever. All I know is there was a pile next to the car. So either someone walked their dog and just left it there, or worse, a human was out there in the parking lot just taking a dump next to their car. Yeesh. Something a little different. So often in my life over the last few years, I feel like I've totally lost the road, if you know what I mean. It's as if I'm crossing a rickety bridge in the fog and I'm not even sure what's on the other side. I'm just hoping that whatever it is, it's worth moving toward. I don't know if it's my midlife crisis manifesting itself, but there are plenty of times I feel I need to stop and start to take a serious look at my surroundings. But then the fear of wasting time overtakes me, and then I start sprinting into the darkness. It's hard to explain. Some of you out there probably know what I mean. Chasing your dream or feeling that you're not on the path you should be, but you kind of are. It's something that I've felt more over the last couple of years specifically. I think it's age. I think it is losing family and friends. This came up because I notice in my social media, specifically Facebook, every now and again through the years, I would post the U2 song, the quote, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. And on one hand, it's kind of humorous that I repeatedly say this and I repeatedly haven't found whatever it is I'm looking for. But on the other hand, it's actually kind of depressing when you think about the first one that I saw in my Facebook life is 2008 that I say I still haven't found what I'm looking for. And it makes me wonder just what in the hell it is I'm looking for. Because I've been down a lot of different roads since that 2008 post. You know, we're looking at 16 years, and I've still been chasing being a writer, content creator, all that stuff. Who knows? Maybe it's just midlife crisis talking. Maybe I need to get 3 or 4 tattoos, pierce my ears again, get a sports car, then I'll be fine. Kind of a side note on that last thing is I've been starting to repurpose old content of mine, poetry, journals, the blogs I've been doing, Throwback Thursdays, my life in poetry form. I had to go through all my old poems, and I've got hundreds starting in 1996. And I've been sharing them, usually five each Thursday, that give you an idea of where my mind, where my life was back in that year. So this week coming up will be 1998. And it's fun to look back at. It inspires me to write. I look at some of these and I want to edit and correct them, but I'm like, no, no, no. You got to stay true to what your mindset was all those years ago. The next one that's coming up is the Vegas journals. What I did was I found my old journal that I wrote in Las Vegas, literally right here, handwritten. See, it was my birthday on that day. Anyway, I found that journal from the time that I lived in Vegas in 2000, 2001. I thought it would be a fun be a fun look at my quarter life crisis with my midlife crisis eyes. That's how I looked at it. The one thing about the journal though, it's going to be a redacted version because there are some names. I name names in it. People that were part of my life at that time. But it's mostly because I talk about several different girls I was interested in. And I'm like, I don't know. Nothing good can come from that. It's not like I'm going to put up a post from this journal and say, "Oh, I was thinking about so and so last night." And then they message me and say, "Woo, I didn't know you felt the same way." That's not going to happen. So don't bother. But yeah, the journal thing I'll probably put up on the free tier of Patreon. So at least you've got to like go and become a member. I'm not just going to share it on social media. I'm not that brazen. Exhibit A of why my thoughts and observations make my life look like an episode of Seinfeld is this. On the way to a lot of Cape Cod beaches, there's signs. They say, walk right, ride left. And there's pictures on the signs. And so that makes sense. You know, you are going down to the beach. On the right side, you walk. On the left side, you ride your bike. The question is, what happens when you're coming back from the beach? If you do the right and left thing again, it's bikes and people on either side. It's anarchy. So I was trying to figure out like, is these signs just for going towards the beach? Because if you've got to obey it, it just doesn't make sense. Like, did you not think that through before you put these signs up? The sign should just say walk wherever, ride wherever, as long as it's not in the middle of the road. That makes a lot more sense. I should just cue up the Seinfeld, the keyboard song, just when I talk about things like that, because they're so random. I was driving this week and I saw the sign and I'm like, I got to talk about that on the podcast. But that's the kind of random stuff that pops up. Another kind of random thing is the other day when my introversion paid off. You wouldn't know it by video podcasts, audio, doing book events, author events for my books that I've released, but I'm actually way more introverted and I would prefer to be in the background of a situation rather than out front. But such is the life. If you want to create content and such, you got to learn to speak to people. Anyway, my introversion paid off this week. I went into a convenience store. I needed like two things. So I grabbed them. It was probably a dessert, probably an energy drink, health food living, yay. And the person that was working the register, she had just left to go straighten up some shelves. Me, I was heading right for the self checkout, checking myself out. There were two registers. In between is a self checkout and I just go and check myself out. To this employee, it was like I was doing them a favor by not asking them to stop what they were doing and come check me out. In my mind, I was happy to not be able to speak to anyone, to just scan my stuff and get out. But she didn't have to know that. I played it off like, oh, I knew you were busy. I could take care of myself. Where in reality, I was like, yeah, check myself so I don't have to make small talk that I'm not a fan of. At my work one day this week, there was a fun little message that I walked into. So we have uh, patient software that we send reminders, texts through. And after hours, if someone texts us, they get an automatic message. Thank you for reaching out. We'll get back to you as soon as we open. Here's our hours. And it's usually you'll get in and there's half a dozen people that have messaged with that return message. So it'll be so and so's name and with a one next to it. Like there's one message. That makes a lot of sense. I walked in on this day, there was a phone number, and next to it was 48 unread messages. First thing I think is, oh my God, what has happened that this person felt the need to text us 48 times overnight? What it turned out to be was an automated message from a bot messaging us, getting the "we're closed" message sent back to the bot, and then that one would respond back with the same message repeatedly. So they were ping-ponging these messages back and forth dozens of times. I walked in, I'm like, what in the world? I honestly couldn't stop laughing once I realized it wasn't anything serious, that it was just these two bots yelling at each other overnight. It's like, man, foolish. So yeah, it's been a definitely fun week again. Getting back to this show, these are a lot of fun to do. I hope you enjoy them. This one, after missing last week, I debated doing 2 weeks in one, but I said, no, it's got to be the week, Webcam Weekly Wrap Up, not bi weekly wrap up. Because then we start losing the plot of what this is, trying to keep it to under 20 minutes and never ever getting it done. I can see it there. Boo already. Did you know on this, I record them through Clipchamp, my webcam here, my microphone here. It has at the bottom something called a coach. I don't know what the coach would be for, telling me, speak now, look over there. It's like, what's the point? So, next week's show is going to be recorded the day after Thanksgiving. Man, I'm going to be food coma madness. I don't know if I'll be able to even be awake. It'll be 20 of those 5-hour energies. It'll be like I'll just be dumping them on my head. So we'll see how that goes. Also, as I'm going, you may notice I have a little bit more hair as compared to last time you saw me. I'm growing it out a little. I had been shaving my head with clippers every week for 14 years, barring a couple of examples where I didn't. One was my mother's first 5K race. I ran it with her, me, my uncle Steve. I said, if you run that race, I'll grow my hair out. And I did for 3 months. It looked like crap. My hair, when it gets long, is not straight. It's not curly. It's bird's nest. I'm surprised I don't get robins and cardinals trying to land on my head when it's long hair. I also grew it out when my grandpa died in 2019. I grew my hair out kind of in tribute to him. And you can see there, I'm not going to be like Gordon Ramsay. I'm not growing it that long. It needs to be long enough you could see all the freaking gray and silver, just like this alfalfa sprout chin. But it's got to be manageable enough that I can keep it trimmed with my clippers. You know, that's kind of the catch. My mother hates when I have a shaved head. So it's been many, many years of that. So I'm changing things up a little so you can see it's going to get a little longer, not too much, but that's what's going on with this here. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoy my content, you can go catch up on the archives of Webcam Weekly Wrap Up. I mean, there's only 9 shows so far, but there's also hundreds of other videos on my YouTube channel. There's hundreds of the audio podcast, In My Footsteps podcast, There's hundreds of blogs. 2024 is my most prolific year ever for content, for creativity, which makes sense because I spend on average 15 to 20 hours every week doing content, recording, researching, editing, marketing, all that stuff. It's me. I'm a one man show. So there's no delegating like, hey, you get together half a dozen social media posts. Like, nope, that's you do it. Or my pumpkin will do it sitting there. It is getting close to the holiday season. So if you're interested in any of my 9 books, visit my website. I've got some copies here with me that I can sign and send out. You can always shoot me a message if that interests you. If you want to support me, support my content, you can become a subscriber on Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to bonus podcast episodes, early access to YouTube videos, sometimes early access to the main show. I'm increasing my free tier over there. So if you want to just go and become a member, non-paying member, that's where the Vegas journals will be going. I've done extra blog posts over there. The what I've learned in my 40s so far. I did the full blog there. It's been chopped up into segments onto the In My Footsteps podcast blog. If you're not into monthly memberships and you want to donate, you can always buy me a coffee. That's one of those, it's simpler. Do it once, there's no recurring thing. But the best thing you can do is listen to my podcast, read the blogs, watch the videos, and share with others. That's the big thing. But thank you all for tuning in. I hope my week made you feel better about yours. It's not always bad stuff, it's usually random, sometimes poignant, talking about my midlife crisis and all that stuff. I'll be back next week. Next week will be the 10th episode, recorded the day after Thanksgiving. Oh, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be more punch drunk then than I normally am. But until then, whatever you're doing, enjoy your week, enjoy your day, and I'll talk to you all again next week.